Okay, this is a Philips tube stereo table radio, and I don't have the cabinet. I'm repairing this for somebody. Several other people have attempted to repair it, including a school. And it's made in Holland. There's absolutely no documentation available that I can find for it. I spent some time on it before and I couldn't get anything. It was totally dead. So what I did is I went through and tested all the tubes and verified their location, and 2 of them were reversed. These 2 here were flipped. So I've straightened that out. And this must be the stereo demodulator, this box right here. This box must be the stereo demodulator. So back on the Philips here, you can hear how distorted it is. And the other day when I was playing with it, I noticed that it was really powerless. So this morning I started checking the grid voltages. And I got one tube here that the grid voltage is just, it's all over the place, and I pretty much got it. You can hear this if I pull one of these tubes out.
The kids' heads off and throw them off roofs, and it's on the foreign news. I mean, this is what our government's doing. And Mitt Romney's like, Obama's not doing enough. Get in there and overthrow Assad. So when we get back, Turkey warns Syria it may use greater force. U.S. military is sent to Jordan to help with crisis in Syria, the crisis they created. Unbelievable.
We're on the march.
So you can hear, and I'm checking, and I believe it's this capacitor right here. This right here, and it's brown, black, orange. Because one side of it is connected to the 12AX7, the plate of the 12AX7, and then it comes here through this 100K resistor, and then from there it drops straight down to the where is that resistor? It's hard to see. There's a 1K right here. It drops down through this 1K to the grid. If we check on this side of it, we're getting 15 to 18 volts, and if we check on the capacitor side of it, it's a little bit higher. So I'm pretty sure it's this capacitor right here is leaking. So I'm gonna, and it seems to get, as it cools down, it seems to get better. So I'm gonna clip that sucker out of the circuit and check it. Just clip one lead. So I cut one lead out and I'm measuring it, and you can see it's definitely leaking. Just measuring the DC voltage coming out of it. So I'm gonna try my new toy here out, my new capacitor inductor resistor tester, and just see how the capacitor checks with this. Well, the capacitor is a let's see, where is it here? It's a brown, black, orange, so it's a 0.01 or 10,000 picofarads, and it's reading about 7,500 to 8,000. And let's do a leakage test on it. So what we do, put the voltage to 0, put this to charge, and then DC volts. Look at the leakage. Look at the eye.
It costs a little more, but it's a little lighter, so the shipping. I sell these at cost at the point, because this is an outreach, so you have a good-looking tool with great graphics and great articles.
This is 5 milliamps of leakage, full scale.
In this world, everything going digital, when they say I said, when print dies, I go into print.
And that's why we have the new glossy. Now there are a few thousand.
So that capacitor is definitely leaky and shorted. Well, I changed that capacitor and it seems to be working well now. It doesn't have a lot of power. This goes in a wood cabinet and there's a speaker basically on this side and a speaker over here on this side. The case is at the shop. I didn't bring it home because I didn't want to scratch it. But it doesn't seem to... Let me get off this before I get... Oh, that... You can see it doesn't have a whole bunch of power, but the tuner... Tuner's kind of sensitive. Works pretty well. And one cool thing about this is the FM that is down here at the bottom, and the AM and shortwaves are up here at the top, and there's clutches. So when you go from FM to broadcast, I don't know if you can see them here, but there's these different clutches that move and engage the different tuning gangs, so you can go from, let me see, you can be on FM, right? You only adjust the one at the bottom, see it moving? And then if you go to, what is that? That's true. If you go to broadcast,
It was a video that caused the outbreak.
So you need to find a plumber to replace your water heater. The question is...
and then you have long wave, short wave, which seems to be working. I think it just needs an antenna. Really need a long wire for the shortwave, but it's definitely awake and alive. Got the cool little civil defense markings. So it's pretty much fixed, and there were two problems. These two tubes right here and right here had been switched around, and this capacitor was bad, leaky.
Bet your life on eFoods Direct.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value. I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your...
You're having trouble eating right when money's tight. Check out Cal Fresh.
Okay, the table is set.
And dinner is ready.
Let's eat.
But first, go...
Tell Mom! Mom, dinner is ready.
or someone you know has low income, call 1-877-847-3663 for information about CalFresh in your area. That's 1-877-847-3663. 1-877-847-3663. CalFresh. Better food for better living. A message from the California Department of Social Services and the California Department of Public Health, funded by USDA SNAP.
Look, if you think about it, the holidays will be here.
Over the past 5 decades, Pierre Boulez has evolved from a musical radical to a statesman of the post-war classical music scene. He came to international prominence as a composer with his piece La Marteau Sans Met in 1955. He later took up the baton and became conductor of both the New York Philharmonic and the BBC Symphony Orchestra. In 1976, he founded the ensemble Intercontemporain, which he continues to conduct today. Its repertoire is aimed at promoting the music of our time, a goal which has defined his very career. Currently, he is the 1999-2000 Richard and Barbara Debs Composers Chair at Carnegie Hall. I am pleased to have him here. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
I said statesman. It is, for most of us who know about your career, a journey that has taken you from very interesting and provocative opinions and ideas at the beginning to wherever you are today. Describe how you see this evolution in a career as composer, conductor, and your ideas about what ought to be on our agenda in the world of music.
I think I was always interested in the music of my time. And I find, people who are not interested in the music of their time, I don't understand them really, because that's much more interesting to be part of this century than just to repeat the experiences of other centuries. Although I am also aware of the history of music, and I love history of music, but I cannot really restrict myself to that. And therefore, when you are very young, as I was in 45, 46, when I was 21, 22, so I needed to express my opinions against the establishment, who did not want to reconsider the old ideas. And then progressively, you are showing your abilities, and not only as a composer, but also as a conductor. And then progressively, the institutions ask you to take the responsibility. And then that's a change of attitude. If you are asked to take your responsibility, you have to. And you have to be convinced, and to convince other people. Therefore, when I was asked exactly 30 years ago to be the director of the New York Philharmonic, it was not at all simple, because, Bernstein was before me, yes. So really a very strong personality, very well liked in this city and in this country. So you are always, the new one will destroy everything. And I did not destroy anything, but I was making people aware of how I consider things generally. And I put new works especially. And it was very strange because first, of course, there was a shock. And if I would have said, well, there is a shock, I don't continue, I would have not been faithful to myself.
Well, you could argue also that it is the, that it is the obligation of the artist to tell the truth as he or she sees it.
Yes, and when you compare, for instance, to painting, to the arts generally, so museums has changed enormously. I remember also the MoMA, the Guggenheim, for instance. Sure. That's really, they do that constantly, and they are not criticized for that. On the contrary, they are praised for that. And why institutions like the Philharmonic should stay behind the time.
It is fascinating to me.
Yes.
I mean, it is absolutely true. If you look at architecture, it has gone from one time to another. If you look at painting, it's gone from one time to another, from one age to another, from one period to another. But in music, there is still this extraordinary
inertia. Yes. And, also I think that's generally, but I've said that I repeat myself sometimes because the truth is always, the same. But institutions are too rigid in music. They want to serve the same menu to everybody. And then, of course, as I mean, if people are pleased with historical works, they are not pleased with new works. And people who want to hear new works, to listen to new music, they say, well, we have already heard the repertoire very much, so we don't need that anymore. And I think we, you know, what I tried to do in New York, for instance, that's to have different type of concerts. For instance, contemporary music, new music, I was giving that in the downtown. First in the university, and then as I mean in auditorium, different, with smaller groups, with smaller audiences also. But they came to listen to the new works. And then as I mean, when the works were very good, we were repeating them in the main hall. Or to have at the end of a season what I call the rug concerts, were very informal, for young people mainly, and where the programs were very adventurous, where you had repertoire pieces, but we had new music just side by side. Because that's important, and not to put new music in a kind of ghetto, you know? That's only for these people. No, you have to mix, but you mix carefully.
You have been asked this millions of times. Do you consider yourself a conductor who composes or a composer who conducts?
I think I'm really, I am a composer who conducts. Yes. Because the conducting came rather late in my life. You know, at first I was not at all involved in conducting. I was just involved in composing, and I made a living with conducting music for the theater, you know, that's all. And then when I was organizing myself concerts of new music, we had no money, and not much at least, and I was the cheapest conductor. And so therefore, I began to conduct very small groups, and then I learned like that. And when I went to Germany, progressively I was given more and more responsibility conducting concerts of new music. And then progressively, you know, I discovered myself this gift, which I did not know about practically. And therefore, if you...
The gift to lead an orchestra.
To lead an orchestra, yes. Because that's a gift, like another one, which I never, I was not aware of it before, you know. And then, I mean, if you do concerts, you cannot do only because the amount of rehearsals is limited, and you cannot make programs only with 20th century music. So when I was asked, for instance, with the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam to conduct, I had to learn the repertoire. So progressively, I did not discover this course because my education was really with this historical background. But I mean, that was the first time I was confronted with conducting really music of the past.
Do you look back with great pleased that it happened to you, that you had the opportunity to, in a sense, give expression to talent that you clearly had, the ability to lead an orchestra, the ability to interpret music, the ability to, in a sense, leave your mark on a whole different arena?
Well, I think first that's, I mean, you know, I'm the only way for a composer, especially for a young composer, to make a living, that's because you have no commission practically at the beginning, so that's teaching. And I taught 2 years, and that was for me enough. So therefore, I preferred much more to conduct because that's much livelier. So when you conduct, you transmit something directly. Teaching, for instance, for me, I mean, I could not have gone for very long on that. And therefore, I mean, for me, to be able to transmit what I liked and to transmit that to a group of musicians, that was really very rewarding. And therefore, I never regretted. Although sometimes, you know, when you are at the head of institutions, then it really takes quite a lot of your time.
It's draining of your time for fundraising and appearances and everything else.
And your energy.
And your energy to compose and to dedicate yourself to the music.
Quiet. Therefore, now, you know, when I can choose everything what I want exactly, I take some periods very precisely. And then, I mean, the rest I keep for my composing.
Do you look back on the New York Philharmonic experience?
Yes.
As something you would, if you had your choice to do again, you would still do again?
I think so. I think so.
Think so?
Yes, no, I think so. I think, you know, the time was not easy, certainly. You had some strong reactions against it. I mean, so you have to have solid nerves for this time. But if you have decided to do it, you do it. Yeah. Otherwise, you are a coward. I mean, simply that.
You can't be to use a colloquialism, you can't be a conductor and be a shrinking violet, can you? You cannot, without a strong ego, you cannot lead an orchestra.
Yes, I mean, you have to have a personality, let's say. I prefer this word to strong ego. No, the ego is, of course, necessary, but not an ego personal, a personality which goes with the music. As I mean, you are there, so for me, in my opinion, you are there to serve the music and to cooperate with the musicians and not to dominate. That's, for me, the great thing. I was giving an interview recently in Vienna because I conducted the Vienna Philharmonic, and I was asked, what is the thing with an orchestra? What is your pleasure with musicians? I said, to receive and to give. That's an exchange. Because when you are young, precisely, you are, especially in my case, because as I say, I did not go to any school of conducting, I was preoccupied with the fact to make things right, So you don't listen. You want always to give, to give, to give. And then finally, the more you go, the more you receive. Yeah. Because in these big orchestras, like the New York Philharmonic or like the Vienna Philharmonic, you have really very good musicians as first desks. First clarinet, first flute, first violin, and so on. So you cannot consider that your personality is stronger than theirs. So, I mean, you have to coordinate things, but you have to respect the personality. And the most you do from with these personalities, the better it is.
Did you, though, I know you by what I read, not by personal experience, you had a reputation for being a very volatile, saying what was on your mind, suffering fools not well, temperament.
Well, so I mean, if you say what you think, you are considered like somebody exceptional. Not at all. So I mean, I don't choose always to say what I say. It depends from the circumstances. Yeah. If you have somebody in front of you who is very, obstinate, obnoxious and everything, you say, well, please, I have these ideas and I want to give these ideas, period.
That's not the way you would say it, is it?
No, I would say in a stronger way. But I mean, I was attacked sometimes in very strong terms also. Yeah. So I cannot really just stay quiet and very pleased with this type of thing. So you react in function of what is said about you or said to you directly. But I mean, I don't look for aggressivity. No, I am not an aggressive person. I am an aggressive person only under some circumstances. Yeah. When I am attacked for wrong reasons, especially. And I want to explain what I am supposed to do, period.
Do you believe, as I think you do, that if you want to know you, listen to your music?
Yes, certainly. Don't look at my personality. My personality is not important. For me, the important is the music you do, you compose, you write, or the music you perform. If people don't agree, I can accept that very easily because certainly I am, I have a vision which is necessary if you want to do music or anything. I mean, you have to have a personality and to give your vision of things. If people don't agree with your vision, that's their right. So I mean, I never objected to that. I was never a polemicist from this point of view at all. Simply when I was attacked, for instance, on the type of organization of music, of what I think is the music which is important and music which is less important, then I describe my tastes. You are not obliged to go with it, but I can really give my opinion, that's all. Mm.
You are going very strong. You said you were just with the Vienna Philharmonic, but you're approaching your 75th birthday in the year 2000, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
What would you like for the musical legacy of Pierre Boulez to be?
Well, I would like, for me, that's not so much the performances. The performances are transient. That's just something which happened, and you are happy sometimes. But I mean, that's not the main fact in my life. I would like that my work survive myself, that's all. And so, I mean, I think that's a desire very common to all artists. I am not exceptional in this case.
Yes.
I mean.
I have here 2 CDs. Tell me, this is with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, yes. Strauss, Mahler, and others. This just out, or?
Not just out, yes. Yeah. That's a recording we have done maybe 2 years ago, something like that.
And this?
And that's my own work, Répond. Yeah. Which is for electronics, I mean instruments and electronics. And that's very difficult because not to listen to the recording, but I mean it was very difficult to do the recording because there is a kind of a space division of the instruments. There are instruments in the middle, there are instruments around, which are amplified and electronically treated. And that's, of course, that's very difficult to give this feeling of space, but I think we achieved that. You know.
Your passion really is of your time and the future.
Yes. Future, I can maybe have a hint at the future because you can never really predict the future. You know, 50 years ago, if you would interviewed me and say, what you will do in 2000, I've said, well, I have no idea, really. But so therefore, I'm not, you know, making prophecies. Certainly not. But certainly, I have the feeling for what happens and what can be, you know, of some interest for the future. That's certainly the tendency of my life.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.